Good afternoon, this is Mark at the Wicked Edge Expert Corner Group, and we're talking burrs. We did a demonstration, conversation, discussion video yesterday on the sharpening strokes to name them and show them so that we're all understanding of what the sharpening strokes directions are and what their purpose is. Now we're going to apply them. What I've done is, this is the same knife at the 18 degrees, and what I did was, because we started to talk about burrs, and I want to talk about burrs from every which way, because burrs are often discussed as something that we want to avoid, because the burr puts that wasted steel or damaged steel up at the knife edge that can haunt us at the end of our sharpening and be hard to remove. With the regimen, the sharpening regimen and the sharpening stroke technique that I use, it's hard for the burr to survive throughout the whole sharpening process. So drawing a burr is when I work this side with the 100 grit, scrubbing, up down scrubbing. That's all I'm doing. I feel something rough on my finger that I can catch it on my fingertip or my nail, or you can use a Q-tip, whatever. It's not mysterious. It's obvious with the 100 grit. It's obvious with a practice knife, a softer steel practice knife. I have it the full length. I have it so that I can judge that, yes, it's the full length. Not some places, not so much. Another place, oh yeah. But so that it's clear to me. Okay, now let's look at that. I have the pointer blown up and set up like that so that I can try to put the camera. You can see first of all, that tree out the top, that is microfiber lint. The scratches go clean up off the edge. I'm tilting the camera lens. Now here is the shoulder. You can see the reflection of the light from the lens. I'll get it where you can see it better. Okay, here is the shoulder, where I say the shoulder becomes flat, like the knife edge. Here is the shoulder running along. Here is the bevel. The scratches go clean off the end, but you can see it is pitted and up and down. Well, it's up and down because the diamond stones are up and down, and they are scratching through the edge, or being pushed and pulled through that apex. So that apex is going to show that. And now we're going to look at the back side, and we're going to look at the burr, and that is the fuzz. The burr is very noticeable. It's a ball. I'm coming back to the heel. I slid back to the heel as close as I can get. The burr is noticeable. Now I'm sliding along the knife. The burr is there, the full edge. You can see the lint stuck in the burr. Here's more burr. The scratch pattern is good. The shoulder is there. Just like the other knife, I'm sliding back now to the heel. The shoulder, like I said, and the bevel is developed. But we put the burr on this side because I want to show you What I mean, fully developed shoulder. Let's just look at the tip real quick. And there's the burr on the tip. And now we're going to pick up there's the burr on the tip. Now we're going to pick up the 100 grit stone and work on this side, scrubbing again, because I want to flop the burr. Because we talk about flip-flopping the burr, that I talk about flip-flopping the burr, that if you're able to flip-flop the burr, then you have formed the burr and you have apexed the edge. Now, whether or not you should want to flip-flop the burr, that's a different conversation for another day. Right now, I am showing you that we're flip-flopping the burr as proof that you can do this yourself to understand that you've drawn the burr and set the burr. And that bevel is set. You've drawn the burr and set the bevel. Let me get the terminology that Tom used. Set the bevel. And the setting of the bevel, you can see the shoulder and the apex. Now the apex has the burr. Listen and feel the feedback. I'm holding it centered. I'm working half on and half off the stone. You can see half on and half off. Even though the safety shield finger guard is there, it doesn't inhibit anything. It helps me with finger pressure and lateral support to keep that flatness. I have to work consciously more on this left side, my left side, because my coordination is such that it doesn't yield the results that I do with my right side. Okay, now this should be all the way shoulder and scratches off the tip. The burr is gone. I'm going to roll forward. Now this would be a double check. If you see the burr, then you need to go back down to the shoulder. The shoulder, I'm going backwards, forward. The shoulder is straight and crisp. Everything is in line. The burr is gone now. The burr is here. That's the flip-flop burr. It doesn't take but a little bit of scrubbing. We're losing some as we go back and forth, but it is there and I can feel it. As you scrub back and forth, flopping the burr, some of it is coming off as dust. The point is that when you know you've done it. Now, whether you do it by scrubbing some on one side, some on the other side, as you watch your fruits of your labor on the screen, you can see how it develops as the ink goes away, as I showed you in the first video. It's a very visual sharpening if you can sharpen with the scope. So now that we have flopped the burr, we know for sure. For the newcomer, now you know physically you've worked it enough, and you can take your flashlight and put your flashlight on there, and you can see the little up and down scratches going from the shoulder up to the bevel on both sides, and you felt it. So for the newcomer, you know now you have that burr. So you have the knife's attention. What you have is you have profiled that knife and set that bevel at 18 degrees. And now that knife, if you clamp it that way, you mark it down in your logbook and clamp it this way forever, set in stone, depending upon how close you are. With the micro adjusters and working with the cube, dial it right in. So it's, as long as you're pretty good and not whacked out on there, it's again and again and again repetitious. Okay, so now the next thing that we would do is we want to obliterate the burr. In my sharpening regimen, in the way I sharpen, I go to it with an edge leading down and on, alternating side, and work, walk, back and forth, work, walk, and the alternating is always both. I generally don't work a down and on one side. Maybe a little bit of something, but it's left, right, because we're trying to work both sides of the knife at the same time intentionally. And we're gonna, whether I start here or I start here, it doesn't matter. I do what I do, but whatever I do, I always do the overlap. And I'm getting it, setting it, making sure it feels right, and pulling it down. As I'm going down, I'm going forward. I'm pulling it, going, and this one comes behind it. And how you do it, it doesn't matter. Do what makes you feel right, that you feel that you're doing it thoroughly. We're going to see what we did right now, that little bit. That there's not a burr there, but those scratches are where they were. They're a little crisscrossed because I'm putting a bias to it. I haven't done it thoroughly enough. In other words, I haven't treated the whole knife consistently to align those scratches. What I have done is I have done it enough to try to show you that I've obliterated the burr. Here you can see that the ball is gone. Just with that little bit. It's a little dirty, I need to wipe it. But the scratches go right up to the tip. There's no, yeah, you can see it's going like this. So the burr is gone, and if you touch it now, it is ragged sharp. Okay, now what I will do is I will continue with purpose. I got this tip in order. That's, I think, why my habit is that I usually jump right at the tip, because I got that in order, and now I come back here and get my stroke down with my overlap. And then I work back forward to the tip that I already put a little attention on. And then I'll be blending it in. And that's just a little quick walk because it's not particularly hard steel. Once it's profiled, once the bevel is set means it matches the whole knife the whole way. Everything you're doing right where you want to do it, in the right position and correctly right. So now we're going to look at it, and the rest of it is like real quick. And you can see that I put a little time in it, that the straightness is the direction that I want, the verticalness of the bevel. There's no burr there. You can see it's almost up and down with the diamond stones. It's a very pretty thing when you look at it. And that's from the bevel to the shoulder, and that. The tip is a little dirty. We did that first. That needs to be blended in, but it's not too bad. It's hard. It's very hard to hold the scope out here. Here it's got something to rest on. But when you get out here and you start leaning, it's particularly tough. Now we're going to look at this side, and again the same thing. No ball, no burr, no ball of the burr. Edge leading, walked it, ready to go. Next grit. Now, with the next grit, that's where Tom took it 200, flopped it over, and I'm going to show you just so we can discuss it. I'm putting the stone stop up, and I'm working with the O-ring type stone stops because I need every bit of space that I can get here. Let me find my cube. And I flopped it to 200, and I want to not prove a point, but make a statement that it's reading 17.99 degrees. I just double checked. That's the process that I do. Sometimes it takes an adjustment, sometimes it doesn't. This shows you that the wicked edge stones are very close in their pairs. So you went from one side to the other. It allows you to trust it. The machinery, the workmanship is so good that when you lock everything in and you stay tight, it stays that close. So you can go from one grit to the next grit to the next grit, just changing the stones and flopping them over, and be sure that that edge is within the tolerance it needs to be a very sharp edge. I'm double checking it just because I can, because I want to see if it is indeed as close as I'm hoping it is. Okay, again on the O-ring. Why on the O-ring? Because if I do it that way, it's consistent always. Whatever the grit is, whatever the stone is, I am centering the stone on the knife, centered like I hold it. So it's the same. Now, whether that introduces a error, it doesn't matter, because it introduces that same error consistently, and I'm adjusting and working within that error that I'm introducing. See, if I did it a different way each time, that would be worse than introducing a consistent error that we can, adjust the windage and dial it in. So right now it says it's 18.1 degrees. 18.1 degrees. So it's off a tenth. I can dial it in a little closer. Why dial it in a little closer? Because I can. Because it's that simple on here, 1806.5. These are very nice micro adjusters to work with. They're tight, but they're like direct. $18 degrees. They're better than the Expert Corner micro adjusters. Those are utility, and you feel them, and they're easy to work with. But this is smooth. This is really nice. They're, it's $1,500 sharpener. It's a nice sharpener. Okay, so I have set the angle. We're going to 200. Now the conversation with sharpening that original posted by Tom Morgan was, can I go to 200 to 3,000? Go to town. You've already set your bevel. You've already set the angle. You've already apexed the edge. You've drawn your burr. There is no reason that I can think of to draw a burr again, except for the reason that I use, is that I scrub now because I'm going to another grit that's finer. So I have an opportunity to scrub that same bevel that I just adjusted the micro. So it may be off a little bit. So now we're going to remove a little steel to refine it. But I'm doing it again just like I did it with a finer grit, but I have less to remove. So it makes sense to me. So I will, and you can see here that it's not doing much, and we're going to look at it. And see what type of burr action that did. Right away you can see the thinner scratches, and it is right down to the shoulder, right up to the apex, and you can see right off the edge, just a minute of scrubbing. Now we're going to come to the back side, and it's fuzzy, but I don't see a lot of a burr. I am not scrubbing. I don't see a lot of a burr there. I am not scrubbing with the intention of drawing a burr. I'm scrubbing with the intention of imparting that flat scratch pattern across the bevel to refine it. If I draw a burr, I can feel it a little bit. If I draw a burr, so be it. But I already did that, so I know where I am. And I can feel the flatness. And I'm just going to refine it so that when I look in the scope, I can see that everything is pretty and lined up. Why? Because I think if it's pretty and lined up, that's how it's supposed to be. And I can show you photographs of knives out of the box that are pretty and lined up. And I guess if that's how they come, this is all pretty and lined up. Let's see if we got a burr now on this. Yeah, now it's a much more, you can see the stuff balled up and rolled over. It's not quite like the first burr, but it is there and it is noticeable. And then now with the 200, I can scrub real quick just to make it pretty, all lined up. Move whatever I'm going to remove to clean it up. I can hear some burr there from the other side, and now it's smoothed it out. It gets a more hollow sound out at the tip too, because you have to remember that where it's clamped, it resonates different. Okay, here's real pretty 200 grit. Right up off the edge, right up to, that's the tip. Looks real pretty with 200. And let's get up here, and now we can see the burr. Bear with me. You can see the burr, the ball of the burr, right at the pointer. I scrubbed it a little more forcefully because I'm trying to with my left side to compensate. I can see the burr there, which is good because it doesn't matter, which is my point. You should see a burr because you're refining it some, but now we're right behind it. We've already done the setting, so now we're just obliterating it. And I'm going to come back right here to the heel. And then I'm going to walk forward. And depending how I put a little or this, that's what controls the direction, either this way or something like this. One is, and the other one is, that's up to you to play with that. That's what I choose to call the art of sharpening. When you have enough experience to correlate those nuances that you introduce to your edge, the character that you introduce by doing those things, and how they feel to your knife edge when you're trying to stick that rubbery tomato and just draw that knife through it with the first draw. Not, it takes a little sawing action and it bows beneath that sharp knife. And I have sharpened knives and put them on a rubbery tomato and had that tomato sink under that knife and that knife not bite it. And it's a challenge. Okay, now we're going to wipe it real quick and we're going to look at it. And I am not going to take this knife to 3000, but I did want to. Looks very pretty. Very pretty. And it takes, the edge is very nice. And for 200 grit, it's pretty sharp. I'm going to play with this a little more because I want to sharpen it to see how sharp, but I won't take it to 3000. And I will continue to scrub to set the bevel just because I want to look at it to see what I can learn about it. But that's how I would take each knife that I'm sharpening for the first time until I learn about it, is that I set the angle with the first, and then with each subsequent one I just polish on the with a little quick scrubbing, which will draw a burr, and then obliterate it with the alternate side edge leading strokes. Now you can just go right to the 400 grit. I will, as long as we're here and we have the air time, let's do that. Set the angle just to show you how quick it is. Be careful. Y'all, this is very dangerous. I'm working way out there, standing up. But I've seen some people get poked in some terrible, horrible ways. Just, I'm setting the top stop. The top stop sets in the center, bottom stop sets out at the edges. Top stop sets in the center, and that's to keep me from going up and off the edge at the lowest point that I could. The bottom stop is set for the sides. If your knife is balanced, your stone will hit here and hit there at approximately the same point. That I believe is also a Tom Morgan tip. Okay, 400, 400, we set the stops. I'm going to check just for grins. Again, I'm rolling the stop up because consistency, turning on the cube, and it is at the center line, 18.1, 18.08, 18.1. It's floating. It's within a tenth. That's pretty dang close. I'm going to dial it in because we have the micro adjusters. 1804. And we can, and it only takes a second to do that. That's a step, Tom, that I don't know if you're doing that. I went past it. $18.01. I'm fighting with it, fighting over a tenth. There we go. Okay, both sides are the same. That quick. Put this on, and then it's the same routine again. One side scrubbing, this is how I do it. I'm refining. Scrubbing is light here. You can hear how smooth it is. And there's no effort because all the hard lifting has been done. I'm off the edge, I'm splitting the tip. I can feel the smoothness. And that's it. And let's just look at that real quick. What are we working with? 400. Isn't that pretty? And listen, you can't unlearn riding a bicycle. I can't say, look at how pretty, it's so simple. I've done it 1,000 times, but it's simple. It really is a simple concept. When you lock it up, and you set the bevel, and you know because you drew your burr, it's holding it stationary. I'm working both sides of the knife alternatingly, simultaneously, so it's balanced. When I take it out, it's done, but you can see how everything, the clamping jig, just holds it so that it's so easy from the edge to the shoulder. The shoulder, like I said, you can see the scratches going right off the edge, like a line, like driving right off the road. And it's because it's still diamonds at that apex. That's going to be there continuously, finer and finer and finer. That's what you want. That's what gives that edge the character. And we want to keep that and smooth it some with the strops at the end. I'm going to come to this side. Oh, we didn't look for a burr, did we? There's a bit of a burr. It's dirty, it's hard to see. Not really. Which is good. I can feel it some places. It's not complete. It's there. It's not as complete in the center. If for the new user that is using dactyl, your fingers feeling, you'd want to scrub a little more. Just a little bit more to, yeah, now that little bit more. So the first side is set. Same thing. On the other side, we set the angle. I'm working half on, half off the tip. Then I come back and all I'm doing is I'm looking at an angle that the stone is staying flat on that bevel. And I'm walking it. Just like those videos of that guy, those guys running on the Tormek, rolling. You can see the edge with the water. I'm looking at the edge and I'm moving the stone. There's just no water, but I mean, it's the same principle. They're just moving that knife across the stone. I'm moving the stone in a fixed angle across the knife. It's just a dry apparatus right now. And let's real quick. Now the sequential scrubbing, that goes to the mirror edge. If you're not looking for that mirror edge, that's very pretty. And you can see right off the edge. And right to the shoulder, up to the edge. And let's look at the backside real quick. And there's the burr. And there's the burr. And it's noticeable. So that's 400 grit. Ready to go? You can do it more haphazardly to start with, to get it to sound smooth, to like get everything lined up, and then come back and do it with a little bit more attention to detail, where exactly you feel the stone, how, with the intention of making everything pretty. That's 400 grit. Everything's nice and lined up, shoulder to tip. I got something up there. Very nice. No burr, nice scratch pattern. They're a little, it's not perfect, but the scratch pattern is from the apex to the shoulder. It's not random. There's a few, you can see those few scratches. Those are the types of things that you, right off the tip, there's some fuzz on the tip. Those scratch patterns are the things that you stop now. You see it now, then you deal with it now, not hoping that as you keep working, it's going to work its way out. Because if you're going for a mirror, this is the backside. Very pretty. This was again after the alternating side edge leading. So this is ready to go. We're going to check it real quick. You can see here at the bottom where there's a difference. That's where I was not as thorough with my down and on now as I should have been. The places where it's more continuous and more vertical all the way to the shoulder, I did a more thorough job. When it's like grass cloth, laying haphazard, it may be good up here on the apex, but for finishing the side of the knife and making the bevel shine, I would want to line these up for my mirror edge. Anyway, so we're done with the 400 for kicks. Let's go to 600. We're going to roll this up again. I hope whoever's joining me has a beverage. 17.96 degrees. 17.97. Micro adjust, yeah, because I can. 17.98, 99. 17.99, I draw the line. I don't think that's necessary. But case in point, it shows you that you can use a wicked edge from one stone to the next, to the next, to the next, as long as your position doesn't change and as long as your angle setting doesn't change. I'm going to check this one again, just because I can. And it says 17.86. So now this one I'll back out. And I notice that, whoops, some of them that you crank in on one side, one grit, one way, and then crank out the other way. My experience has been sharpening knives with these stones. Of course, I flip-flop them in for end and side for side from time to time as I use them in the rack, so that I try to mix them up. But there must be something in the way that that stone was mounted, because I'm always adjusting back and forth for it. I remember that. Okay, so now we're ready for the 600. Throw the finger guard safety shields on, and it doesn't matter, start left or right, start at the tip, as long as you are conscious that what you're doing across that side, and then doing the same thing on the other side for about the same amount of time's worth of effort. You're trying to keep your work balanced. However you choose to count it to assess that level of effort, so be it. If it's counting strokes, or just a conscious effort, or it's visual and feel, how I do it. I'm scrubbing this one nicely now because I want to take this one. I think I want to take it loose and measure it at 600 grit. Because there's always a lot of conversation from people that I only take it, hunting knives in particular, that they only take them to 600 grit. There's the fuzz from the Burr. I was doing all the scrubbing. Not much of a Burr. Yeah, I can see it's sort of round. You can see the Burr there. Now here is the side that I did the scrubbing, and this side is very pretty. Everything from the shoulder right up to the bevel is all, there's some, you can see a few stray scratches, but for just the scrubbing, that's one side, that's pretty good. Then we're going to come to the other side and same thing. And you can hear it, you can feel it in your fingers. There's only moments of resistance, and I can see fuzz of steel just rolled off of the edge, over the edge on the other side. As I'm refining and coming across the edge, I can see that ball, because it's scrubbing the whole bevel from the shoulder to the heel, and each scrub is getting those scratches, which is why I predominantly work in one direction, because then I am scrubbing the scratch pattern that I previously laid down right over the top of it. So the chances of me hitting it, well, you'd have to be intentionally trying not to hit it, because the guide rod and the stroke puts you in line in order to obliterate the scratch. So it just makes sense. The crisscrossing is a method that's used for keeping track. Now you can see how pretty that is. And that's what we look for with our mirror shine. Just a little bit of scrubbing, and we'll wipe that clean, and then I'm going to look and see on this side if there's a burr, just to, yeah, there is. There's a little, you can see the, right there, the burr at the arrow, just a little bit. And yes, you can feel it with your finger, just a little bit of a roughness. And it doesn't take but about, and it's gone. I'm walking back, and then I'll come to the back. Whatever I do, not making excuses, but I pick it up and just go at it and start doing something. And then when I figure out what I'm feeling, then I give a plan to. But whatever I do at the end, I try to impart the last final scratch with a purpose, with a direction. And that one I walked forward. And let's take a real quick rub and just take a quick look at it. I'm curious how sharp it is. I didn't put a lot of time on it. It is I don't know if I can show you how the bevel shines. Let me see if I can do this. There we go. And that is the apex. And the apex, you can see, is very fine line. And that's the side, the left side, and that's the right side. And you can see how, just how fine that apex is now. It's got crap on it and it hasn't been stropped, but that 600 grit, let me come over here to this side. That's the left side, and now I'm going to rock. There's the apex, and here is the right side. Whoops. And let's give a quick, whoops. Pretty sharp. I will do a little bit more stonework on here, just a couple more strokes. And then as long as I'm at it this long, we may as well strop this baby and give it a test. This goes to the conversation of a lot of, knife users that say that 600 is all you need. I'm putting a little just a little bit of effort to refine that edge. I did not consciously think about the direction of my scratches just now. I just was looking to make the bevel feel a little sharper. Okay, stropping. Let's do stropping with a different video. I'm going to stop here and then I'll clean this up and then we'll do stropping with a different video. Thanks.